Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the JOBY experience, where I talk to guests about their profession, life, and we just kind of have a little fun along the way. I'm Joseph, and today I got a good friend of mine from several years back. He's here with me today. His name is Brent Toth. So, Brent, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, man. What's going on?
Just living life, dude.
Yeah, I hear you. 2020, 2021, huh?
Yeah, I know 2020 was bad, but I don't want to get on the political side of things, but 2021 with Joe Biden, day one as a president, didn't turn out too good.
Yeah, I think 2021 is turning out to be 2020's crazy ex-girlfriend.
Yeah,
It's got,
something. We'll see how it plays out. I mean, we're not even through January yet, and
yep,
it's not looking at like it's going to be a good one.
yeah. Well, you know, I've been trying to tell people to um, not just get so wrapped up into everything. I mean, even when times are bad, there's still opportunity to go out and make something of yourself. You know, politicians don't run your life day to day. So if you're in a bad job, if you're not making the money that you're supposed to, you know, try to work on yourself. Get the education. Maybe it's a new trade, maybe it's the same trade, but maybe it's a different place to work. Just kind of invest in yourself as much as a lot of people have been invested in politics, one side or the other. You know,
Yeah, man, I couldn't agree more. I mean, you look back on things that happened in history, and people started businesses during those times, whether that was
exactly.
Civil War, Prohibition,
Great
multitude of
Depression.
things. Yeah,
E-
depression.
Even in those times, as bad as it was, there were still people. Um, I don't want to say taking advantage of it, but they found a niche. You know, there were inventors inventing new products. I mean, that stuff didn't stop.
Oh yeah,
So just because times are bad, it doesn't mean that the world is ending and the sky's falling. You know, that's a great thing about this country is you can go out and make something of yourself even when times are bad.
for sure, man. And I gotta say, for the probably four, I'll give us four people that are going to watch this video. Um, my
Come on,
man's
five.
coming. What?
I got my mom gonna watch, so that's fine.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Your mom and my mom's only people is going to watch this. Support their boys. But
Yeah.
I gotta say, man, I love the backdrop. I love the 82nd Airborne. That's actually where you and I met, was in the service. We were both in the 82nd. We were both serving together in the same company. Um, where you're on the road right now as a truck driver. Where are you coming? Where are you videoing
Well,
into?
I just picked up a load in Phoenix this afternoon, Phoenix, Arizona, and I'm headed to Roswell, New Mexico. I'm gonna go see if there's some, what if it was a weather balloon or a alien spaceship or something. But no, I picked up a fuel truck from a little regional airport there in Phoenix and taking it over there to Roswell. They got a operation they needed at, so here I am. Just happened to be out in Yuma, Arizona, spending some time with my dad. They moved down there in the last year, so hadn't got to see him until now. So booked a load down here and stayed for Christmas and stuff. And now I'm finally hitting the road after a few weeks and gonna go make some money.
Yeah, man, getting to be around and enjoy time with your family for the holidays is
Yep.
that's always good, man. I'm glad you got a chance to do that. Um,
Yeah. That's one of the things I like about, if I was going to make a top five things that I like and things that I don't like about being a truck driver, one of the things that I love for me is, most people, they have to request time off work, have vacation, days saved up, get the permission, to go on vacation, and then they got to buy a plane ticket, rent a car, all the things that go into traveling. I travel every day and I get paid to do that. So the position that I'm in, not every trucker is like this. Sometimes they just tell you to go someplace and you go. But since I've been in this for 6 years now, I've worked into a position where I can take a load to a certain destination and I can stay there as long as I feel like, as long as my bills are paid and, I feel like doing that. So instead of paying to go travel, I get paid to go there and do whatever, and then I get paid on the way back. So it can be a good deal.
Yeah. So I guess since we're on, your job topic at this point, so you got out. Let's see. I want to say you transitioned out in 2013. Is that right?
Yeah. After we got back from deployment, yeah, I was there about 6 months, and then I was out. I'll be honest with you. I went through a period after getting out of just not knowing what to do. I didn't really have any type of career um, in mind. They have a process for the veterans who may watch this. You have to ACAP and tell them what you're going to do. And I went through all that, but I just didn't really have a goal in mind. So
Yeah.
I spent about 9 months working at a motorcycle dealership with a buddy of mine. He got me a job there, and it was okay. I mean, $10, $12 an hour. Just I like bikes. You saw me riding around when I was out there,
Yep.
but it wasn't going anywhere. And I think a lot of people find themselves in that predicament, whatever their job might be. It's like, this pays enough for me to, rent a place and, provide for myself, but I just don't like it. Or, it doesn't have any room for, let's say I want to have, or I have already, kids or, girlfriend, wife, I want to get married, I want to provide. It just isn't enough.
Yeah.
Well, at the time, my dad had been driving for a couple years up to that point, and he had suggested, hey, look into it. Look, get some. There's some online, things you can look at, watch some videos, and come out with me a week or so and see if you could do this. If you would enjoy it or not. And I'm like, I don't want to be a trucker. It's like, you kind of get there is a cliche about it, dirty old trucker, just kind of redneck, whatever.
Yeah.
What
It's
am I
kind of
going
like,
to do?
I mean,
Buy
it's
a
not as
trailer?
bad, but it's kind of like the stigma on a plumber. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and certain
certain.
jobs have that,
Yeah.
and that's one of them. It's like, well, if I'm going to be a trucker, I might as well, find myself in the trailer park. That's what I thought. But I went out with him for a couple weeks, and I was like, man, this is not what I thought it was at all. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to. It was a little bit of money at the time. I mean, that I didn't have. Going to a truck driving school was about $4,000. But as far as a trade goes, it's about as cheap as you can get. I mean, plumbers and electricians and stuff have VOTEC, but they're a little bit more different things. But I was like, well, if I don't like it, it's $4,000 down the tubes, and I'll make it up. Okay.
Okay. So you paid to go to your own school. You didn't go through a program that the job was going to pay for, and then you were indebted for 1 or 2 years of a contract with those guys.
Right. That's one piece of advice that I got from my dad, having done the wrong thing. Not that it's wrong. A lot of guys do that, where they'll lease onto a company that has a training program. And just like you said, you sign a contract that as long as I work for you for X amount of time, you'll cover the cost of me going to school and getting my license. Well, that's great, but once you're on the contract like that, they have a lot more control over you because you're locked in.
Yeah.
So when it comes to the loads you're getting, the mileage that you're running, which is based how much you get paid when you're working as a company driver, is you're paid per mile. So they can increase you to get their what you'll see happen is when you're still under that contract to pay back their school, you'll get a lot of miles. You'll make pretty decent money. And as soon as that contract is done, your wages will start, your miles will start dropping, your wages will start dropping. They won't run you as hard. You won't make as much. Their business model is just to get guys in the door to drive the truck for a year, maybe two, whatever the contract is, because it's an entry level job. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's how my dad did it because he didn't know anything else. But since I had the means, had a little bit of money and stuff, and had some people that would lend me the money, my opinion is it's better to go to a private school to get your license. That way, when you go to that first company, you don't already owe them anything.
Yeah.
So then it just comes down to you and your work ethic and how hard you want to go. You know, there's nothing, there's not going to be this drop later. It has been my experience and talking with other guys is the guys that went to their private school, they usually find a better job to begin with right out of the gate. They make more money per mile than some of the other guys, and they don't have that drop later. So that's my recommendation to somebody who could either afford it, or there are some schools that will owner finance. So you may come in and put $500 down on your getting your license, and then you'll just make them a payment for 2 years, whatever. It's not much, maybe $200 a month to reimburse them their costs. So that's another option.
Sweet. So so you go through the program, and I know because my mother's, well, I got a couple people that drive trucks in my family. My uncle drives a truck, but I don't really know how he kind of got into it. But I know in recent years, probably about the same amount of time as you driving a truck, really, he went through the program that we're talking about now, where the company paid for him, and then he worked so long for them. And I think he went that route because he didn't want to worry about getting a job. So since you paid to go through it, a lot of companies require X amount of time on the road, most of the time a minimum of 2 years. So how were you able to get a job after?
There are companies out there that will hire a day one driver with just has their CDL but no experience. And the school that I went to has a lot of connections with those trucking companies. He had a pool at that time of about 8 different companies, depending on if you wanted to haul a tanker or a flatbed or a van. A van is a regular box trailer that he would set you up with. And another selling point on that school was he had about, I think at the time, he stated, which I didn't believe it when he first said it because it just sounds too good to be true. You see these VOTEC places saying about, well, we have a 75% job placement rate or whatever. Yeah. Well, his was like 95% of people that passed his school got into one of these companies. And I didn't believe it until I got through, and I had 4 job offers before I even left class with no experience at all.
Sorry, I'm just sliding my chair back. I felt like I was a little too close.
Get comfortable. I don't have the corona, I promise.
I'm trying to stay 6 feet away from the computer, bro. You never know.
But yeah, they work with trucking companies to get guys placed in the job, because the training doesn't do you any good if you can't get a job. And they know that would really hurt their business if guys weren't going to work.
Yeah, I can see that.
Plus, there has been since God, I mean, before I even started, back before my dad started, there is a shortage of drivers. So your ratio of jobs to drivers is there's I want to say just off my head 10 jobs to every driver that's out there, really. So it's your pick of where you want to go, even if you don't have any experience. Like I said, that sounds kind of counterintuitive to what everyone's been told, another VOTEC type job placement, education.
Yeah.
But our industry, for a couple of reasons, you've got the older guys retiring, just like any job, you've got that. But because of like that stigma we talked about, a lot of the younger guys that are, you know, I I think the rule has changed. When I started, you had to be 23 to have your CDL. Now I think you can get it at 18 in some cases for local jobs, but 21 in some states. Um, but even if it's 23, that age group, 23 to 35, those guys just trucking was not a something they thought about.
Yeah, and I could see, and I see a lot of signs on the back of trucks saying, hiring drivers, whatever. And I
Mhm.
feel like it, one, the stigma, but two, maybe just because of the profession in itself that you got to drive across country and be gone all the time. And like you
Yep.
said, if somebody's already, has a fiance or a girlfriend, they got kids and whatever, they don't want to be away from home on the road all the time. So it kind of deters
Yep.
people from that career field. So I feel like, truck drivers are always limited in their supply and demand ratio.
Yep. Yeah. That's got a big part to do with it. Is your home life and how that's set up. You and me being veterans. Um, I don't know how your situation was, but I was single the entire time, still am. But
Yeah,
just
good.
us.
Good for
We're,
you.
we're sometimes it's good, sometimes though, I am human.
Oh yeah.
But we were used to that. You know, you got to have your bags packed and be ready to go in 18 hours or whatever, and be anywhere in the world, right?
Yep.
So it lends itself to that, you know, because it's very similar. But even that, when you're back home, you were going home every night. You could see your girlfriend on the weekends after work, whatever. That is one thing about it is, when I leave the house, I know that at least I try to stay out 2 weeks, 3 if I can, but 4, 5 is kind of pushing it. I start getting fatigued, just not making good decisions. But I know when I leave, I'm not going to be home for 2 weeks. And if I did have somebody back home or kids or whatever, are they going to be able to handle that? Can that other person, that spouse, whether you're male or female, can your spouse or your significant other take over those duties and not hold it against you for being gone? you know
Yeah.
that's that casts a lot of guys out, even in training, or that first year of driving.
Yeah, and like you said, man, that's a big part of being in the service too, because
Hmm.
you and I were deployed together, and we were out there for almost 7 months.
Yeah.
So being gone on deployments and being gone for that long of span of time, I watch some of these. Yeah, I mean, you've seen them. It's like MTV, Real World, and all these other different
Reality shows.
shows. And
Yeah.
sometimes I even watch the Ultimate Fighter. I'm big into to mixed martial arts, and I like to watch the UFC as a
Yep.
sport. And I watch the Ultimate Fighter show, and they're on that show for, I don't know, it's like 4 weeks. It might be a month or something like that. And some of those dudes are on there crying, about being away from their family for a few weeks. And yeah,
Yep.
I understand being away from your family and everything, but for guys in the service that when the war was hard charging back in '04, probably '04 to '09, in that time frame, dudes were doing 18 months. So when I see some of these
Yep.
reality shows or hear people complaining about 2 weeks, 3 weeks,
Yeah.
I'm
It's
just
like,
like, I get being away from family, but come on, man.
yeah.
We got
Yeah.
guys out here that's been gone for months. So I mean, it really puts a strain on, like you said, your just social
It's
life, family life, things like that.
Oh yeah, it's different for everybody. I mean, everybody's perspective is their own reality, right? So if that's what that person's cutoff is 2 weeks, and I'm freaking out, need to be home, then I'm sorry, but this isn't the job for you. But if you do have that intestinal fortitude to, you got to be self motivated. I mean, even as a company driver, yeah, you're going to have some guy on the other end of a phone, hey, where are you at? What time are you going to be there? Is everything okay? All that. But at the end of the day, what time you wake up in the morning is on you. Where you stop to eat is on you. Did you make sure that you've got fuel to get from here to there, and all that is on you? How are you
Yeah.
going to get there? What's your route? You
Yep.
got to find all that stuff out. So it does take a unique type of person, and I'll be the first one to admit that. It is not for everybody. I mean, the physical act of driving the truck, you could it's a learned skill. You could teach anybody to drive. It's everything else is whether or not you're going to be successful. You know, I saw many guys that, especially in school or in training at my company when I first went there, that they could back up, you know, real nice. They had skills driving the truck, but they didn't make it past orientation, or they made it a couple of months out on the road and then gave it up because of what you're talking about. They just couldn't handle being gone. You know, they couldn't plan themselves their day to day what they're doing. They just weren't self motivated.
Yeah, and I could see what you're talking about too with, driving the truck, you know, you could I see what you're saying. You could teach anybody to drive the truck, but when you got to do your checks and make sure your vehicle is good and log all that stuff and log your hours and plan your route and especially if you're doing what you're doing where somebody you're not working for a company and they don't have a load for you to drop off and a load for you to pick up on your way back and you're kind of managing that yourself,
Yep.
making sure you plan your stops and you're getting your fuel and you're getting your food and you're drinking enough. You're staying hydrated while you're driving, and just there's so many other aspects other than just driving the truck. And I feel like
Yeah.
you definitely got to put some effort into doing that, because I know my cousin, and if he watches this video, hey dude, if you get butt hurt over what I'm saying, I'm sorry, but it's the truth. Um,
Spoiler alert.
yeah, spoiler alert. But my cousin was going through a class to get his CDLs, and he failed twice because he was doing the inspection of the truck, and he never even got to the road to do his driver portion because he couldn't pass the inspection.
Right. There's a lot of memorization with that you have to know. There is no let me look in the book. There's you have to just know it. And if you do it wrong or you do it out of order, they're going to fail you. And like you said, you can come back and retest, but I mean, yeah, if you got to retest 4 and 5 times, that's kind of an indicator that, well, you know, maybe this isn't what you need to do.
Yeah.
But I know one guy I keep in contact with that I went to school with, and he failed. Actually, hell, I failed my first time. Just like you're saying, I messed up on one of the air brake checks. I did all the right steps. I just did one out of order, so I had to come back and do it again. but he had to do it 3 times. And I didn't think he was going to be able to cut it, but he's still out driving. So I mean, it just depends on that person. Like, do you have the will to, okay, this is what I did wrong. I got to learn from that and then change it, not keep making the same mistakes and go forward. Or the first time you're going to have some issue, you're going to give up.
Yeah, and my brother got his CDLs pretty recently, like a year or so ago, and he struggled through it as well.
Yeah.
So let's see here. So you paid your own money, went through the school, and then the school help you get your first job. So
Yeah.
when you
So
got your first, I'm sorry, what?
I was just going to say, here's another tip for the veterans. If anybody watches this, when you go to your first company, um, look for companies that have a VA approved OJT program. So what that allows you to do is the first 2 years while you're driving for that company, they submit paperwork showing that it's on the job training, and you're able to get from your GI Bill BAH for those first 2 years. So
That's
in
awesome.
my case, that was an extra $1,200 a month, based on where I lived and my rank and everything. So it was like a whole nother paycheck at the end of the week. It's like getting 5 paychecks every month.
Yeah, and also I'm glad you
That,
mentioned that because
that right there basically made the down payment for me to buy my own truck, is what it came down to.
yeah, that's amazing. And I want to say, if somebody's watching this or watches this whenever, and they're looking to go out and they're starting their ACAP process, I believe the Army now and hopefully then has a program. So when you're going through the ACAP process, you can take a CDL course and you can get it.
They do, and I didn't realize that
Yeah,
until after I paid for the school. So I could have gotten it done before I left the service, even though
yeah,
I had license to drive big, you know, uh, I was licensed for a HEMT and everything else. But yeah, they will get you an actual CDL for your state before you leave. So if
yes.
you're looking at doing it, make sure you tell them very early on when you're out processing that that's what you want to do, and make sure they set you up in that program so you don't have to come out of pocket that $4,000 or go to a company that has a school. You'll already have it and be ready to go.
Yep. So school will be paid for. The first 2 years, you can get a VA. Go make sure you get the VA program like Brent's talking about, and get some money put in your pocket. And
Yep.
um,
Like I said, that made all the difference in the world. I mean, I was making good money. Don't get me wrong. Uh, but what I did with that extra paycheck, I looked at it like, normally I wouldn't be used to getting an extra paycheck every month. So I'm just going to put it in a savings account. And after a year of doing it, like I said, I had about $10,000 that I could set aside because I knew I wanted to buy my own truck and be an owner operator to have more freedom to go where I wanted to go, make more money doing it. I knew that's what I wanted to do, so I just set it aside, and that made the VA basically paid for me to get my truck. So it's definitely check that out if you are a vet. If you're not, well, you can still do those things. Set some money aside for yourself. You know,
okay, so those first 2 years, you're working for a company. That company has what was it called? Is it called a broker or
um,
that?
that's more what I'm doing now, is working with a broker to get loads.
Okay,
Um, every company basically has a broker or
sure.
a
Yeah.
brokerage department that goes and finds the loads. You know, what do you need moved to where, and we'll bid it at this much, right? So then they'll have freight that they've got on contract, and then they'll just dispatch you, you know, depending on where you're at. They might, in my case, I was working for a company out of Des Moines, Iowa. So I would, say I was up there doing training or something. They'd dispatch me from there and say I'd go to Chicago, and then they would get me another load from Chicago to somewhere else, and then from that place maybe back home, stuff like that. So there's kind of two different mindsets. If you're working for a carrier as a company driver, you're getting a W-2, you're not an owner operator, you're not paying for fuel and that stuff, then they're going to dispatch you and tell you where to go. Okay. If you're an owner operator like myself, there's a couple different ways you can do that. You can lease on to a bigger company as a lease operator. So you lease your truck from them, and then they will find freight for you and dispatch you just like a company guy, but you're getting a better rate because you have more expenses. You're getting more percentage of that load. So if it's $2,000 is what they're going to collect, you might get $1,500 of it, and then pay them back your truck payment and stuff. So you end up with, say, $800, right, for that load. Whereas if you were a company guy, you would have just got paid 35 cents a mile to move that load from A to B. So you might have got $300 for the same load. So you still make more as a lease operator working for a bigger company, leasing a truck from them, but you have to pay them their expenses first for that truck. Sure. Then they give you what's left. Or you can do like I did, go to a dealership or go somewhere and buy a truck yourself on credit or pay cash or however you want to do it, and then lease that truck onto a carrier. So you're not a lease operator, you're an owner op, you own the truck. Then most of them will give you a higher percentage still of the load. So if it's $2,000, I get 73%. So that'd be about $1,500, just like the other guy. But I pay somebody else my truck payment, so I get that whole 1,500, and then I do with it what I need to.
Yep.
So there's a couple different ways to go with that. And then what people call true owner operators is guys that have, Brent Toth has Toth Transportation on the side of his truck. He has his own DOT numbers, his own authority to haul his own freight. So then he goes to whatever shipper, he goes to Coca-Cola or whatever and says, I can haul X many loads a week out of here going wherever you need it. And I'll bid that at this rate. And then he gets the whole thing.
Yeah.
Because he's going and getting his own freight.
Yeah, cutting the middleman out, huh?
Right. So
yeah, and that'd be cool, man, but
there's a lot to that.
Yeah, it seems like it's a lot harder. Especially yeah, I mean, I feel like if you were trying to do that, it would be like for a smaller company locally that, you only do their stuff, and then you would have to kind of get another person and kind of build your own mini fleet in order to get a bunch of loads for a bunch of businesses.
It's very hard, if not impossible, not to say that it is impossible. I know some guys that have done it, to be one guy with one truck and your own authority. Because you just have so much to deal with. You've got to find your own freight. You have to negotiate with brokers. You got to do everything for the truck, the maintenance, run your taxes. You got to do everything.
Oh, yeah.
I would like to get there at some point, but I've kind of done the math enough to know that it really doesn't make sense for me to do that until I'm ready to hire some people and put them in some other trucks. Just like you're saying, have a small fleet, 5, maybe 10 guys, then that makes a lot of sense, because I'm not losing that percentage to give it to some other company who's finding me loads. I can go do that myself then. Plus, it looks a lot better when you can show up and say, hey, I've got 10 trucks, I can cover all your loads for the week. Where do you want it to go? So there's different rungs of the ladder. You know, I don't want to say I'm all the way at the top. I'm, upper 75%, I would think, because I'm able to go where I want to go. I don't have to haul freight that I don't want to. If I don't want to go to Manhattan, I don't. You know, what I do, the way our company works that I'm leased to, they post everything they have onto a search engine. And I look based on my criteria of where I'm at, when I'm going to be there, how much do I want to get paid per mile minimum, and it will populate 10, 15, 100, however many loads are in that area.
Yep.
And then I pick one that I want and go to the next one. And as I'm going down the road, they'll email me and say, hey, you're going to Alabama. We got one down there going out to Texas. Do you want it? Yeah. Or no, that's too cheap. I get to make those calls.
Yeah.
That's why I went from being a company driver to being an owner, even though I do have more expenses. I have to pay for the fuel, which, I mean, even at $2.50 a gallon, that's pretty cheap right now. I mean, it's $400 or $500 to fill up, and I'm doing that every 2 days if I'm running. So, I mean, I got to pay for that. I got to pay for when the truck breaks down. I just had to put $10,000 in the motor about 3 months ago. So you got to plan for that stuff. You got to budget for it. Don't just spend everything you make. You got to think of it as a business, not a job. And this is what I got, so I can go spend it.
Yeah.
That doesn't work. Even the company guys. I mean, I see a lot of guys. They go from making, just like I did, $10, $12 an hour, maybe 18, 20 grand a year, and now they're making 50 grand a year. Man, I got money like crazy. I'm gonna go buy a new truck, and I'm gonna buy a bass boat, and I'm gonna go fishing every weekend. Well, first of all, as a company driver, you're not gonna be home to use that stuff most of the time. That first year, you're gonna be running. You might get home every 3 weeks for a weekend. So it's kind of pointless to do that. But just be smart with your money. If you bankroll that for a little bit, you can work into something better. You know.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people get in the habit of kind of living paycheck to paycheck. Um, I don't want to quote percentages or statistics, but it's a pretty high percentage of the average American living kind of paycheck to paycheck. And
Oh, yeah.
I'm not a financial guru, and I don't have money just falling out of my pockets every time I walk. Um, but for me, for advice for people, is the best thing that you can do is to, especially now, used to, the company would get you the check, you pick the check up and sign the back of it and take it to the bank and deposit it or whatever. Now you got direct deposit. So the
Yeah.
best thing that you can do is to get a separate account, whether it be another checking or savings or whatever, and have an allotment where X amount of dollars, whatever your goal is. So if you want to get an emergency fund built up, or you're
Mm-hmm.
looking to get a new car or whatever, you go
Yep.
ahead and take that money straight from your check on the get go and have it go in that account. And whatever's left, whatever hits your checking account, it's like, hey man, this is how much money I got to live off of. Uh,
Right.
and
That's
for people,
exactly what I do for my maintenance fund for the truck.
yeah, you got to,
Like,
because if you don't do that, you're going to think, hey, I got X amount of dollars, and you might wind up spending on some stuff that you don't really need. Where if you cut it out from in the beginning and it went in a separate account, you're good to go.
yep. You'll get used to it. You won't miss it, and it's there when you need it. You
Yeah.
know, when you take this truck in and they need to put a new cylinder head on it and it's $10,000, you're glad that you put that money away,
Mm-hmm.
because otherwise you'd be putting it on a credit card or getting a loan. And that's how guys get into trouble, is they live off of what they make, and then if something happens, well, I got to finance it or whatever. Well, it's just going to snowball. You have to think about it differently. When you go from making this amount to making more, like you said, you should pay yourself first. in anything. I don't care if it's trucking or you know, you just got a better job, you got a raise, take a portion of that and, you know, put it in your 401k or put it in a separate account, save it for something that you need later.
Yeah. And again, man, I'm not a financial guy, but at our age, I'm 32. People that I know, especially younger soldiers and whatnot, I encourage people to do 10%. Especially if you get a new job, like you said, the new job is paying more and whatever. When you're going through the administrative portion of signing up for everything, go ahead and sign up for 401k and put it at 10%, because that's a good it's a good
Yeah,
amount of money. And if and again, it's a new job, 10% is getting cut off the top. You're not going to miss it, and that money's only going to do you good.
right, right.
So,
Yeah, I mean, like you're talking about with the math, with time and interest and everything. I mean, even $100 a week, if you would have started that from 18 by the time you retire, I mean, that's kind of, people talk about it, Dave Ramsey and everything. You'd be a millionaire when you
yeah,
go to, and
and like
that's crazy to wrap your mind around because you're like $100, really? Yeah, it adds up.
yeah, it does. And I'd heard it a little bit too, but I didn't really get a handle on finances and just kind of getting a routine and kind of understand life a little more until I was probably 26.
Yeah,
So if some people got it sooner, man, great, great for you. But I didn't really. I don't want to say I had it figured out, but I didn't really figure things out until about 26 years old.
I'd say about the same. Yeah. Um, that's something to be said about our education system. I mean, I don't know if they even teach, a consumer finance type class in high school or anything anymore. I mean, I don't know, but I think that's one thing that gets kind of left out is what to do with your money. How to, you see it all over the place. People in credit card debt, buying houses and trucks and cars and stuff to keep up with the Joneses, and that will come if you, like I started out at the beginning of this video, invest in yourself first. Get the education, get the job, get something that will better you instead of buying that new widget. You know, do that first, and if you do that, you'll make more, and then you can go get it, and it's not a problem. You know, I
Yeah, and
mean, if you can,
I think in the education system they should do that. I would say like an elective, like in high school, maybe your sophomore and your senior year. You get
yeah,
one elective both of those times, and then in college they should have those type of
right,
things as an elective, because you know kids go straight from high school straight to college. Most of them might have a scholarship, might have financial aid, might be getting student loans, their parents paying for them to go to school, whatever the case may be. They're staying in a dorm room, or they have roommates, they work a little part-time job, and it's just about getting through college. And
hmm
um, they come out, they're 22, 23 years old, and then it's like life kind of smacks them in the face a little bit, and it takes them a few years to kind of stumble through some things till they figure it out. So
yeah. For the love of God, anyone, please don't get the basket weaving degree. What? Get something that's going to get you a job. That's the point. Is not to go to college just for the experience and to feel good about yourself. Yeah, go and have fun, but if you're gonna get a degree, get something you can use.
for
But
sure, man.
yeah, it's you know, it's just a life lesson, and like I said, that's one thing I see, especially out here in this industry, is if you can't handle your finances and have things set aside, and not be going into credit card debt, buying things you don't need, and all that stuff we talked about, you're not going to be successful out here doing this, because it's going to catch up to you. You're going to get that debt is just going to snowball, and you're not going to be able to dig out from under it. I don't care if you make $10,000 a year, if you make $100,000 a year. It's all relative, right? So I mean, there's that point of no return for everybody, and
Yeah,
don't
and
even go there.
something my father told me, which holds true. It doesn't matter how much money you make; it's how much money you can set aside. Because you
Yeah, how
could
much?
make, like you said, you guys go from making $20,000 a year to $50,000 a year, and they're like, I want a truck and a boat and go fishing and do this and do that. You could make $250,000 a year. But if you're spending all your money and you're not setting stuff aside, somebody that makes $50,000 a year may have more money 20 years down the road than the guy that
Mhm.
makes $250,000 a year.
Right.
So it's
The only difference between, which I've kind of learned this after stepping out there and taking a leap of faith and doing it. The only difference between somebody like you said at the beginning that's just kind of working a mediocre job, can't really get ahead, paycheck to paycheck, versus the people that we think are rich, you know, they have their stuff figured out. It's not really how much money they made or they got lucky and there's those few that came up with some new idea, invented Facebook or whatever. But for the majority of them, it's what they did with what they had. They reinvested it in themselves or that idea that they had, or they set it aside so when they did buy their house, they did it smart so they could pay it off soon and they're not paying on it when they're 65 years old. Those types of things, what is really what makes the difference between the lower middle class to the upper middle class and the higher, what we think of as like the 1%. It's not that they're so much smarter than us or have some, magic book they look through to get this stuff going. It's they just understand how to take a little bit, reinvest it into something else, and make it into more. And it's the same thing with you and your education or you and your job or whatever. You know, invest in yourself first so that you can have those things you want later. You know,
Yeah, and I think people that are kind of in the tax bracket we're in, where if you're at you make $100,000 or less, people don't understand how much money you spend on food.
oh
People
my
eat
God,
out more
yes,
today than any other time in history. People just
absolutely.
constantly eat out. They don't cook. People don't have, you live in a
They don't know.
subdivision or an apartment complex, so people don't have gardens, they don't have animals. They're not raising their own food, they're buying it elsewhere and they're just eating out all the time. And if I challenge somebody, if anybody's watching this portion of the video and stayed around this long, I challenge you for a month to just track all of your food expenses and see what that total is at the end of the month. And when you see that number, you're going to think, look what I'm doing with my money.
What's going in my body? I mean, yeah, I did exactly what you're talking about. Uh, about the first year I started driving, because yeah, it was the same thing. It's like, man, where's my money going? Like I know what I got paid, and I know what I put in my checking account, and I know what my bills are. Why don't I have any money? And I started looking at it just like you're saying. I was spending every bit of $1,500 a month in food,
Oh, yeah.
and I chalk that up to, well, I'm on the road. I have to eat out because that's all there is. No, you can keep things in your truck. Now that I've got my own, and even the company guys, they can put a lot of them. They set them up with refrigerators and uh, even the little Coleman portable plug-in fridge. I had one of those in my company truck. But I've got a fridge. I've got a whole, shelf back there full of canned goods and stuff that I can eat and make in a microwave in my truck. I can go to Sam's when I'm home. Yeah, I'll spend $200, but that'll last me a month. You know, yeah, I'll still eat out a couple times a week. You know, just like, food is kind of morale, I mean, sometimes you just need to.
Oh yeah.
But I try to limit it. I mean, if you're getting your Monster or your coffee in the morning, breakfast sandwich, by the time you get to lunch, you're stopping and getting another sandwich. That's, you're up to $20, and then you sit down at the diner. When you get to the truck stop, that's $20 right there. That's $40 a day. It's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot
So
of money. What my wife and I tried to do for the longest time is we would cook. We made an effort, Monday through Thursday, and even Friday. A lot of the times, we tried to, we bought groceries. We made every effort to cook every meal, and we ate in, and then our freedom and enjoyment, because you're off on the weekends, you want to do stuff and whatever, and the weekends is when we ate out. So we would sometimes
right,
we'd go out to eat Friday night, we'd probably go out to eat Saturday night, and those would be our spending money at a restaurant type thing, and the rest of the Monday through Thursday we ate in, and even on the weekends, a lot of the times for breakfast and lunch we still ate in. We would just go out for dinner Friday night and Saturday night, and that was like our treat.
right,
Because like you
absolutely,
said, it's morale. So hey, it's the weekend. What are we going to do? We would go out to eat and go out to eat with friends, and that's kind of how we kept
yeah.
motivated week to week.
Yeah, if you could justify it that way, for some reason other than what do I want to eat? Well, Taco Bell or McDonald's. I don't know. No, like, just if you make it like you're saying, you know, it'll save you so much. I mean, you're never going to get your food budget down to zero. You got to eat, but you can cut it in half.
Yeah, and like like for you on the road, like you said, every now and then you got to eat for morale. You got food in your truck. Yeah, you could store, if you got a small fridge, you could store a bunch of sandwich meat, maybe some stuff for, you could store bread, sandwich meat, and you could have some kind of canned food for like soups and
I've grilled steaks. You got to do it pretty quick because they won't. I don't have a freezer, so they won't stay for very long. But I've been on the road, parked at a Walmart or something, and bought steaks, and I got a little Coleman grill. I'll pull it out in the parking lot and I'll cook some steaks right there. I mean, $10. You can't go to a steakhouse and get a meal and out the door for $10.
no.
So there's ways to do it.
Yeah, I could just see myself if I was in your situation driving out on the road. I would eat like a sandwich every other day, and I'd probably have some yogurt in there and eat some of this and some of that, and then in between I would grab stuff at the gas, at whatever truck stop that you're at, or at some
Yep.
restaurant for food, and I would kind of break my meals up so I wasn't eating out, you know,
Yep.
multiple times in the same day, or every day after that, or kind of split it
Uh,
up every other day or something.
and sometimes time dictates when you're going to stop to eat. I mean, there's uh, like you're talking about the logbook. I have to take a 30-minute break sometime throughout the day in the first 8 hours, but that might be 3 hours after I start driving. That might be six.
Yeah.
Just depends on what I'm doing. So I mean, yeah, it's a different time of day maybe, but yeah, like you're saying, I try to split it up, do one thing this day, one thing the next. Okay, maybe I'll break it up and I'll go into the truck stop and get myself a hot meal and sit down, get a shower. That's another thing. Now that I said that, um, the showers in the truck stops are actually really nice. It's kind of a mixed misconception that it's like a closet, with a shower head or whatever. They got nicer showers than I've got in my house. I mean,
Yeah, and they should for what they charge you guys for them.
well, and that's the other thing is if you didn't know any better, all the truck stops have got rewards cards. So when you pump 50 gallons of fuel, they'll give you a free shower. And they pretty much all do this. They've got a program or whatever. And it sounds like a lot, but I mean, like I said, I'm filling up, 150 gallons every 2, 3 days. So I've got 10 or 15 showers stacked up. You know, there's no reason why. That goes to that stigma thing about being dirty and nasty and all that. There is no reason why when you stop at night that you can't go in and get a shower. It's mostly because guys are just lazy and they just don't want to pack their stuff up and go inside and spend an hour and do it, you know. But it's, if you got to pay for it with cash, which I have a couple of times, you know, I didn't have points or whatever. Yeah, it's 10, 15 bucks. You know, it's not that bad. You just have to budget for it just like anything else. But yeah, you know, sometimes I am in the middle of nowhere, not at a truck stop. And you have to be okay with that, you know, yourself. If you're a neat freak, clean person, you know, yeah, you might have to go for 2 or 3 days without one. Just depends on where you are, you know.
Yeah.
Hey,
So other than trucking, man, you know, kind of in between time, I know, you know, when we were in the service together, you were into vehicles, you were into bikes, things like that. You know, what do you kind of do as a hobby nowadays?
I still am. It's an addiction. It's expensive. Don't do it. No. Yeah, I've got 2 bikes right now. I've got a cruiser and a sport bike, which actually I haven't ridden a sport bike in probably a year. I'm just kind of over that. I don't know if it's because I've gotten more mature or what, but I don't really feel the need to drive at 120 miles an hour with my hair on fire anymore. Maybe I am getting old. I don't know. But yep, still got the bikes. Right now, I'm working on. I've got a '52 Chevy pickup that I'm rebuilding from scratch. Basically, all I had was a cab. So I got a chassis for it. I got engine, transmission, you know, every nut and bolt. I've been working on that for about the last year and a half. And I'm about 80% done with it. I gotta wire it and get the fuel system hooked up to it and stuff, and I'll be able to drive it. So
So your cruiser, what type of bike is it?
I've got a 1900cc Yamaha Stratoliner. So it's a pretty big bike.
Yeah, yeah, it is. People are gonna make fun of me, but I got a Honda Shadow Phantom. It's just a 750.
Yeah, yeah.
But
So
I just ride it here locally and stuff.
oh yeah,
I'm not a huge. I like riding. It's fun to ride, but I'm not a diehard biker dude. You know what I'm saying? If it's too
I live
cold or if there's
500 miles.
any chance of raining, I'm not getting on the damn thing.
I'm
It's
kind of the same way. I am. I just a lot of my friends have got bigger cruiser bikes, you know, baggers and stuff. And the last few years, we've been taking at least once a year, sometimes twice. We'll just pick a place and we'll trailer the bikes. Okay, judge me, whatever, you know. But you know, we'll go to Sturgis or we'll go to Tail of the Dragon up in Tennessee and North Carolina and stuff, or we'll go to down to Daytona Bike Week. You know, we went out to Colorado and rode around the Four Corners and you know, Durango and all that one year. You know, I like having the bigger bike to go do those things with bags. It's so nice to be able to put something on your bike.
oh
You know,
yeah, I
you go,
bet.
you buy a T-shirt or something, and it's like, where do I put it on the sport bikes? I got a pocket like this to put my wallet in. That's it. You know, it's nice to just be able to turn the stereo on and cruise and throw stuff in the bike and take off. And it's no slouch, man. I've beaten some 600cc crotch rockets with it. It's pretty fast.
Yeah, 1900 cc's is a ton, dude.
Yeah, yeah. So I like it, but I'm thinking I might sell the sport bike here come spring. Just like I said, I just don't ride it very much anymore. But that's what I've been into. And then of course, you know, not politically correct. I've got a nice gun collection now, so it's been one of my other hobbies. I've kind of nerded out on that and different triggers and
Oh yeah.
slides and accessories and kind of gotten into all that stuff.
Oh
So
yeah, dude. I mean, I've got several thousand in firearms and whatnot. And
Yeah.
if it wasn't for, trying to do what, I'm trying to get a garden, and we got chickens, and come spring I'm trying to get some other livestock and animals, and I just built a garage that cost me 20 grand and things like that. If it wasn't for those things taking up money, I would have spent so much more money on firearms. So
Yep.
I feel you on.
Yep. Yep. Got to have our freedom seeds,
Yeah, dude, got to.
Yep.
It's worth every penny of it.
Yep. Absolutely. Especially when I'm sure you bought a lot of stuff back when the prices were cheap before the panic buying and ammo shortage and all that. I mean, man, the prices now are just insane.
Yeah, and I wish I would have kind of known a little more. I mean, I went to several gun shows, and I bought like an ammo can, like a case of 1,000 rounds of 9mm and things like that. And I still got quite a bit of ammo. I probably got 2,009 mil, some 40 cal, 223s, some 5.56, and whatnot. But if I would have known it was going to get to where it was, I would have bought a lot more on the ammo side.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've got at least, like you're saying, every caliber of gun that I've got at least 1,000 for each one. And then, some more than that, cause I shoot them more. But yeah, it's, man, just like you said, if I would have known that, man, you could make a killing right now. I mean, what's the meme going around? Like, I got 3 rounds of 9mm, willing to trade for a boat or a truck. I know what I have. No low ballers.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
yeah,
about right.
yeah. Slinging rounds like it's crack, dude.
Yeah. Since we're talking about that, hobbies and stuff, I have gotten into some reloading. So, of course, with everything, you can't find components, you can't find primers and stuff right now, but I've gotten into doing some hand loads and stuff.
Yeah, and that's a big thing too, because I was trying to get into reloading. So I have several things of powder, and I have primers, and I got a bunch of rounds, um, but I don't have enough bullets. So I
Yeah.
got everything to make I got the cartridge and everything to make the round. I don't have the bullet, um, the projectile that you need.
Yeah.
So
It just is what it is. Like I said, welcome to 2021.
yeah, but
But
I know it's late, man. It's 12:15 here, and I hate to kind of cut it short. I don't even know how long we've been running. Um, I just want to say thanks, man. Big shout out to you for just getting on here. You're in your truck, you're at your stop, doing your layover, and you were courteous enough to get on here with me and everything. So
yeah, absolutely.
big thank
Anytime,
you,
man.
dude.
Hit me up anytime. If anybody has any questions, they want to talk to me offline. Um, you can either give me a shout over on my business email, which is Toth Transportation 2015 is when I started with my own truck, at Gmail, um, spelled just like it sounds, Toth, and then transport 2015. Um, I'll answer any questions you got there, or get in touch with you and pass them on.
Yeah, or just don't be a square. Like and subscribe and comment below on this video. Hit him up in a comment or something.
Heck
Um,
yeah.
you know, show the little man some love, dude, and just subscribe to the
I,
channel.
I ain't so little no more.
And I don't know if you want to tell people another way. That's your choice. If you want to tell them how to find you, I mean, they already know your name, but I'm sure he's got. I know he's got Facebook. Do you have Instagram?
I don't have the gram. I'm behind the times, I know.
Yeah, so he
Um,
doesn't do it for the gram, ladies. For everybody that's watching, he won't do it for the
I've
gram.
been told that I should though. Yeah, I would give the Facebook thing, but to be honest, I don't even know what my my tag is to get to me on Facebook.
Yeah, just look him up. You know, go on Facebook, Brent Toth.
Yep.
Just scroll down through the profiles. He's going to be the best looking man on the Facebook.
Or hit if you want, hit me up on the Xbox too. I'll play some Call of Duty or whatever.
Yeah, I need to get with you on that.
Yeah. Tactical, like tactical, and then trucker just without the ER, just an R. So truck R. Yep. That's me, man.
Boom.
We can go get some dubs.
Yeah, so if you get killed on Call of Duty by a tactical trucker, it's this guy.
Don't be mad.
But yeah, man, I appreciate it. I'm going to bid you farewell, and I'm sure we'll talk again, in a few weeks or whatnot.
Oh yeah, hit me up whenever.
Yeah, man. Stay safe, brother. I appreciate it.
You too, man.
I'll holler at you, man.